Okay, we are live. Good morning, everybody, wherever you may be. My name is Clark, and I'm the host of Clark Vision 2020, and we're bringing you Kemetic Fortitude. And on this episode, I have a very special guest, friend of mine, Mr. J.L. Quenton Artist. And when you look at the artwork in the studio, you might say that looks familiar, where the artwork on my logo is actually done by Mr. Quenton. Mr. Quenton.
Yes, my name is Jerry Quenton, actually, but my professional name is J.L. Quenton, and I am a narrative expressionist. And what that is I tell stories in my artwork, and I express it with color, and then I add cultural emphasis on it, like Kemetic work, Egyptian work, and indigenous African work of the Americas. And so when I first started out being art and stuff, I was born and raised here in the Northwest, over in southeastern Idaho, Pocatello to be exact. And being raised by my grandfather over there, I ran into a lot of different situations and stuff which were frustrating for me. And consequently, what happened was I ended up getting an art teacher in the 5th grade that turned me on to art. And that kind of reeled me in. Because at that point I was drawing on everything, but I didn't have no reason, I didn't have no understanding of why I was doing this. As it turns out, I was an artist, but you know, athletics came into place, and I didn't get back into art until I moved to Portland in '75. And so the works that I do, I'm trying to express the things in between people's lives. When African American people live their lives, for instance, in between civil rights and slavery, what was the mind thought between that? What were people were thinking about? Now, personally, I know that I am a very creative person, and I imagine most African American people are creative. And so that chance of not being creative back then until now, there are a ton of stories to tell about that, and I'm interested in those stories. And so I thank Clark for inviting me to come over to talk about this and stuff, because it gives me some PR for my artwork and stuff, and it's nice. It's very nice. Thanks, Clark. I appreciate that. Any questions?
Yeah, I got lots of questions for you. So my first question is, the first time I came over here to look at the concept that I gave you to go ahead and put out there for me.
Yes.
You told me that this studio you made yourself.
Yes, one of the things that I believe that we have as a people is a natural ability to build. You know, I was talking to Clark about Kemet and how the people of Kemet were so educated that the extensive education and knowledge that they had, that when they were conquered by the Greeks, they gave the Greeks 20% of their knowledge, and they built the empire. And it was the same with Rome. So I think us as a people, we have gone through this world, and everywhere we've been, we have built things up. You know, well, look around you now in this country. We have built this country, see? And so the things in which I'm looking at is how can we get some of those things back for our youth, for our elders, and to be able to look and see things that was created by our own minds, see? And you start going into these things, and I started getting into, things of Egypt and Kemet, and all of a sudden my art started changing. All of a sudden my philosophy started changing, and all of a sudden I'm on this path. And the laws of attraction, you get on a certain path, you attract certain people. And now Clark is getting on that path and getting that knowledge about himself to heal himself. Because that's what it's all about. It's about healing ourselves. Yeah. So yes.
So you say that the meditations and knowing who you are as a people, that's very vital. And I think knowledge of self.
Yes.
I mean, I was lost, several years ago, I'll admit it. And then it was like one day I met this brother over at Shellmeyer Unlimited, Ray Shellmeyer. And first question he ever asked me was, how well do I know myself? And I thought, that's a strange question. And so then he just started dropping these little tidbits of knowledge. And then as I learned more and more about my culture and who we were before, slavery, and you go back to thousands of years to ancient Kemet and saw the great civilizations, the kingdoms, and the dynasty, then I was like, whoa, there's more to this. And then what that really helped me do is realize my true potentiality. And so what I was about to ask you is, when was it that you think you reached your true potentiality and were able to express that in this form of art that we see?
Well, one of the things about art, being raised in a place, being raised in a place in the Northwest and in Idaho, like I was raised, they're faced with racism, hatred, and stuff. And so my grandfather, pulled me to the side and he says, these people are going to kill you, and you need to find some kind of way to stay in school, because I was just fighting all the time. And so I had a teacher. By the time I got into the 5th grade, I had a teacher that noticed that I had some issues. I had issues, and of course those issues was because my mom left when I was 7 years old, and so I had a lot of hatred and stuff, and so a lot of pain, really, not hatred, just pain. And so the way I tried to deal with that is I used to draw on my desk all the time. When the teachers, when this particular teacher used to have tests and stuff, I used to draw on the desk instead of taking the test. And she busted me one time. And so instead of sending me home or getting me in trouble, or she kept me after school every day for a year, and she taught me art. She was an artist, and she taught me art, and that was it. That's how I learned how to do art, and not only learn how to do art, but also learn how to alleviate the pain of being left by your mother or being ridiculed by another race of people. You have a way to release that, and that is through art. One thing that you will find out is that you will start adhering to this, and a lot of things that are negative will start to go to the side, and you'll look at life a little bit more differently, and you'll look at people differently. Because these things in Kemet and Egypt and stuff, they were meant for a certain people. And black people in this country are part of that. They're part of that. So through art, we can do that and explain to people what they're dealing with. Because when you see a child in middle school, and I taught at SEI for 8 years as an art teacher and stuff, and working with middle school kids, is I told them the reason why they're getting all upset is because their creative side is trying to come out, and it won't be allowed to come out. And then it turns to frustration, and next thing you know, you're in the principal's office. But if you get a teacher that is there to do what she was supposed to do, and that's teach, you will find this out. And then all of a sudden that light will come on, and you're a happy camper. You're going down the road. There'll be a lot of things that'll come into your life that'll try to change you, but that art, that writer, whatever that is, whatever you are as an artist, it will come out, and you will go down the path, and you'll be happy. You'll be happy, and you'll help other people, and that's what I'm trying to do now with my art. So
let me ask you this, because I used to work in an alternative school with a lot of at-risk, gang-affected kids. Mm-hmm. And, when I'd sit there one-on-one and we'd be just talking, I'd let them do their thing, I noticed every one of these guys was had this great artistic expression. And I was just amazed at the detail. I mean, they would draw these lowrider cars, and it was just, I wanted to buy their art right then,
Yes.
And so, is there a direct correlation between people with artistic ability and not being able to express it, and that manifesting itself into deviant behavior?
Yes, there is a connection to that. As a slave, there were several things that you were told that were just taboo. One was you can't look at white people directly in the eye. The other was you cannot learn to read. You can't learn to read, and do not ever attempt to draw something. because that shows knowledge and somebody who is more complicated than just a slave. And and so those things people were conditioned not to go in those directions. See, but they overlooked the fact that when we got off the ships here in this land, we were doctors, we were artists, we were metallurgists, we were all these things. Native American people didn't learn irrigation until the Africans came here. The Africans taught the Native Americans irrigation, how to grow corn and stuff. See, all those things have been in this world for thousands of years. Thousands of years. So all the things that we're doing now, they aren't new. But our culture deters black kids, boys and girls, deters them away from their creative source, their creative. That's what they're upset about. It's because their creativity wants to come out, and you're not allowing them to do that. So you get a breakout. You get somebody in a class that falls apart, and all of a sudden, you got kids going to jail. You got kids getting murdered, or being murdered, or murdering people because that. And then here's the ultimate test of it. You go to state penitentiary, you got some of the best artists in the world in there. R.V. Smith was teaching art in Oregon State Penitentiary, and he still does, because there are artists in there, see? And when people start realizing that, it's a very difficult thing for people to look at somebody who has discovered themselves, because they're a different person. They're a complete human being. They're a complete human being. And that's what you do when you stop kids from, reaching their creative sources and stuff. You're telling them that they're not a human being. And they're going to fight you all the way because they know they are. See? So yeah, it is a big difference.
So there you have it. So parents out there, if you see your kid drawing and you want them to do something else, I would not discourage it. You need to encourage it, because everybody has a unique talent. They got something or some idea that they can do better than anybody else, and the only way that's going to manifest it is if they're allowed to pursue it. Yes, of course, that the basic fundamentals are necessary, but please do not discourage that creative nature that your child might be demonstrating to you.
Yes, if you're a son or daughter likes to draw with a pencil, if they want to pursue being an artist, they have to learn to draw. And if they learn to draw from grade 1 to grade 9 or grade 8, it's going to be a great experience for them. So
in your opinion, Jerry, how important would you say art is specifically to our culture?
Oh, I'm biased, of course, I'm an artist, but it saved my life. It saved my life. It's allowed me to travel. It's allowed me to meet intellectual people, both from the political aspects and all the way to, teachers and give you ideas. See, because in order for you to be a great person, you have to have a great idea. And when you allow your kids to draw, you are giving them ideas. Ideas about being great and prosperous. That's what it is.
All right, so somebody like me, I consider myself a person with no artistic ability. I mean, I got some concepts, but could I learn to be an artist?
Yes, anybody can. Okay. Anybody can. I worked at 4 middle schools. I had 52 students I was working with. 60% of those students could not draw a stick figure. And by the time they were finished with the school year and stuff, these kids were having shows, So yes, it's there. It's just been depressed. It's just been depressed. You've been told that you have no creativity. Get a job, join the army. You have no creativity, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But the person that you are and that special gift that God is giving you is just waiting there for you. And all you have to do is tap into it and stuff. And once you tap into it, oh, you'll be surprised. You'll start noticing a whole lot of different things. You have a trained eye. And I always believe, and I tell people this, if you're an artist, you have a trained eye. That means you can see just a little bit more light that God is trying to shine on you. You can see just a little bit more light. You can see the sign and you can be on your path.
Right.
When you're creative, you look at things differently. You think for a minute longer, you'll get your answer. But if you think, right now I'm going to do it, then you make a mistake. And our kids do that.
Right.
In school, they think that this is the way to do it, and they try to get that quick fix, and it doesn't work, and you're in trouble, and all of a sudden it creates this great big, conundrum where you're fighting, your parents have to come in, you're fighting that, you're going to another school, and you bounce back and forth. But if they tap into that creativity, and that stuff starts coming out in your kids, then your kids are heading for prosperity. They're heading for success. See, now let's understand. There are people in the educational field that are very educated, but they're not really teaching kids the things they should be knowing. They're teaching their personal agendas. Now, this can apply to Latinos, whites, blacks. If a person has an ego problem and they're a teacher, they're going to teach their personal agenda. But if you get a teacher that looks at the world from an educational perspective, but also from a creative perspective, that's going to be the most popular teacher in school. And that's the teacher all the kids are going to take her class or his class. They're going to take those art classes, And that's what you got to do in your kid. Your kid talks a lot, right? You tell him, be quiet. You know what? He might be an actor. He might be a writer.
Comedian.
He might be a comedian. See, don't jump to conclusion, because there's something inside of him or her that's trying to get out. And it's art. It's creativity. That's what it is. That's what it took for me. I didn't know. I walked away from a basketball career because I wanted to pursue art. I walked away from a job of 19 years because I went back to school to take art. And that's what I am. One of the things about being into something that you really, really like to do, it is a joy to wake up every day. It's a joy to wake up every day to look forward to something that you love to do.
Yes,
and it'd be really good if you got paid for it. So.
And when you're at that point, you know what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing.
That's right.
So, I got familiar with Jerry's artwork. He had it displayed in one of the offices I go to, and I was talking to the actual owner of the office, and I said, your artist that did that, he paints like I think. And he tells me, well, I haven't seen him in a while. So the next morning, I go to yoga class, I walk in, and I see my man right here. So I showed him 3 pictures. And I said, I'm going to show you this. Tell me what you would do with it. And so he started explaining it, and it made sense because it sounded kind of like what I was thinking. So then when he showed me the prototypes, I was just blown away because it was exactly what I was thinking. And that all goes back to what he opened up with, talking about the laws of attraction. Because I had this vision, I thought about this, and it's part of this whole plan I got to really get myself branded. And now I hooked up with Jerry, and Jerry's expressing himself, and he's got me wanting to do that. And so, if you got an idea, folks, it's best just to roll with it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking that risk and just that leap of faith. Because if it's your destiny, you're going to find a way to make it work. So, Jerry, if somebody's interested in contacting you, you got social media or contact information?
Yes. JLQuenton.com is my site on the computer is JLQuenton.com, and then I'm also on my card is JLQuenton@AOL.com. And there's images on there. There's also background and everything else on there and stuff. It's a new thing for me and stuff, because I don't use the social media that much except for showing pictures and stuff. But it's a growing thing, just like we're doing here. I'll be growing that too.